Hey everybody, welcome back to our neck of the woods. If you haven't noticed, or if you could hear, there's no raining going on in our garage. I wonder why. Yes, that is right. Over the last 2 days, I got the entire garage papered with the Carlisle Whip 300. So if we take a look up here, you can see we are fully done. And like I said, up over top of the peak, there's one more sheet going up and over, and we'll go ahead and cut that at a later date to allow the heat to escape back up and out through there. But the garage is 100% waterproofed. We still need to work on the house. There's a little bit of snow left. That'll be real easy to push off with a shovel. And that's what I basically did the entire first day. I shoveled the entire roof off before I even got started. So that took a while, unfortunately. But today I went and picked up the rest of the Whip 300 so that we have enough for the house. And we also picked up all of our metal trim. Now we got 3 different types of metal trim in here. So basically the garage technically isn't 100% waterproofed yet. What we have to do with the first type of trim is we've got some that's at like a perfect 90. That needs to go up against the garage and up against the, or the garage roof, I should say, and up against the house siding. So that way you create a water channel that if a wind-driven rain was pushed in there right now, it would get to the green zip panel. Water would then go straight on down into the roof sheathing, and it'd basically be raining all the way down the ICF wall on the inside of the garage. So that piece of 90-degree trim, I'll nail it down to the roof, nail it into the zip, and then we're gonna go ahead and get the zip flashing tape, and we'll go ahead and run it all the way up, overlapping the seam of the metal flashing against the green zip paneling, and hopefully the zip tape will actually stick down to the Carlisle 300, and then that will be 100% waterproofed in there until we get the roofing on. The other piece of trim in there is the one that needs to go underneath of the Carlisle 300, and it's more, I don't know, it's kind of like that, more like 120, 130 degree, and that flashing is for, I think you're supposed to put it on top, but we're gonna put it under. The only reason why I'm using that is because as that Carlisle kind of bends down, because there's about 1 inch or so overhang, I'm gonna put the metal flashing up under there, and then it's about 1 3/4 inches deep. And once we get the LP smart siding on there, as we cut that down in the exposed edge, we put up underneath of the roof sheathing and underneath of that Whip 300, that metal trim will also go down over that, hang down 1 3/4 inches, and it's basically going to protect the top 1 3/4 inches of that LP Smartside trim. So now that is fully protected. The last piece of trim that I got is kind of like the gutter trim, just a little different. It's back into being a complete 90, but it's not as big as the wall flashing, and that's going to be for all of the gable ends. It's the same thing that we're going to put it up underneath of the Whip 300, nail it down to the sheathing, and then it's going to hang down. This stuff's a little bigger. I wish it was more the size of the gutter trim. It's almost like 2.5 or 3 inches long, which on a 7-inch fascia board there, unless I rip cut it down, that's basically more, almost half of it that it's sticking down. But that piece of metal trim, again, will hang down over top, off of the sheathing, down the LP Smartside trim, and hang down. So again, you're keeping weather off of that LP Smartside from getting up on top. Because the way that I'm probably gonna cut that back is I'm gonna cut the roof sheathing flush with the 2x6, put the trim board on, which means the top of the trim board, if I cut that down, because 7 inches versus 5.5. I don't need that much of an overhang coming down for a drip edge. If I cut that back, that LP Smart Siding, the top of it will be fully exposed to the weather, minus the Carlisle that's just sitting on top of it. So if I take a piece of trim that cuts back 3 or 4 inches and then hangs down, I fully protect that corner that it can't rot out and weather can't get to it. And now, of course, since the roof is waterproofed, we can go ahead and start putting on all of our boards also. The reason why I stopped there is because every crack that you have where the sheathing came together, it would have rained straight down all the way through here on every single crack coming straight down. It would have hit the underside of the LP Smartside, and then it would have drained on down. And then, of course, since I put that piece of trim board up in there, the water really wouldn't have had a place to go because it's kind of back cut in there. So we need to get the lift back over here. I guess this will be the easiest place to start, is on this side. And we'll go ahead and put all of our underboards under. Then we'll go ahead and put the flashing on, the LP flashing. To protect that 2x6, and then we'll go ahead and slip in those 90 metal flashings. The Carlisle will go back over top of it, and I guess technically we could even use more zip tape, but as long as those that Carlisle is a pure 100% self-sealing around nail holes, we should be 100% fine. So let's set the camera up. Let's go ahead and knock out all of this underboard for the first time, start making this look pretty, get the flashing on, and then we'll go from there. All right, I am all done. What a shocker. GoPro stopped after about 20 some seconds, even though it was still saying it was recording the entire time. And it's like, I don't even know. It feels like 9 o'clock at night. It's been pitch black for like an hour or two. Yeah, 7:30. So if I didn't explain that well, basically, we've got the LP Smartside 7-inch board, and that's going up against the 2x6 up there that's acting as the beginning fascia. Now, I didn't have to trim these back because I ended up cutting the sheathing overhang and ended up cutting it completely flush with the 2x6. So you've got 5/8 of an inch there, and then on the bottom, the thickness of this, or the thickness of that like T11 stuff that I used, that took up that too. So now basically you've got a 1/4 of an inch or so on the bottom of this that it hangs down, so you can't rip cut it. But that's now the front fascia going all the way up that gable end. And then this is that flashing that I was talking about. And if you guys haven't noticed, black seems to be a thing. I wonder what that's about. So anyway, this piece of flashing here now sits over top of the sheathing, fits over top of this edge here, and then it encroaches in on the peel and stick. And as you can see, this is 3 inches wide. Now I put my nails down along the edge here, and what I still plan on doing tomorrow, I'm too cold and it's getting windy up there, is I'm gonna go ahead and take my 3.5 inch zip tape and basically put it from here all the way down. I don't know if it'll stick to the ice guard, but I've got a feeling it will, because that stuff sticks to everything. But if I put that ice guard zip tape, or the zip tape to the ice guard down through here, I will cover every one of my nail holes, and all the way down we'll get it to stick really well to that ice guard. So now this basically is weatherproof. My top nails I didn't caulk because now they're completely covered under here. I'll have to caulk my bottom holes down here, and as you can see, it gives you over 3 inches of safety on this LP Smartside that it's protecting all the way up on here on the top. And then on my overlaps, as I was running down, of course you do a shingling effect running down. I did about a 3-inch overlap, nailed those two together, and that should be bomb-proof now. I was kind of hoping that wouldn't hang down as much, but it doesn't really matter, because once we pick our house color that we're gonna paint everything, hint, hint, you'll see that everything's just gonna blend in basically. So tomorrow we also have the gutters to do on this side, and then I have to start the gutters on that side, and then of course put the gutter flashing that I bought. And then we're gonna have to figure out how the heck we're gonna do the flashing up where the garage roof meets the house, because it's a tight space. There's not a lot of room to be up in there. You can kind of wedge yourself up between the roof for the house roof and the garage roof to kind of like stabilize yourself. But we'll have to get the flashing in there first, and then we'll try and go ahead and knock out this T11 under there also and run on up there. Same thing, you got the flashing on the outside of the 2x6s. This will have to wait though, because we still have to do the entire house's peel and stick ice guard. So I don't know, I'll see what I'm gonna do tomorrow, but hopefully that explains some weatherproofing and how I did everything. And again, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Hey everybody, welcome back. So another day. Hopefully you guys can see up there now about what's going on. Still need to finish the trim on this side, or the black kind of flashing there, and figure out how I'm gonna cut that down and make it look nice by cutting it back and everything. And then incorporate that with the kind of gutter flashing to make it look nice. And then this side, same thing. It only got done, pretty much just left it kicked out kind of on the edge there. But we'll trim all that back and figure out how to make it look nice. But that's how it's gonna look for now. So we're fully waterproofed up there now. We got a nice black trim. I still have to caulk all the holes and spacing that LP Smartside wants you to do. And I do have the correct caulking to go ahead and do that. So I bought a case of it inside. It's supposed to be like a ASTM C920 approved caulking, and that's actually what I have. It's actually just a window and door type caulking too, which I'm gonna use for all of the windows. So we had a bunch bought anyway, and turns out that's what we need to use. So we'll go ahead and finish up this whole gable end, caulking all the nail holes, all the cracks. We'll go down that outside fascia over there, and then we'll go ahead and install that trim there. And again, hopefully the zip tape will stick, because I did end up putting it on top and not underneath. Now, I want to go ahead and give the shout out I was talking about for all of you that commented how we're going to insulate these inside gable ends. Mr. Cool, or I'm sorry, My Cool, I'll just call you Mr. Cool, had the best idea. So what we're going to do is, instead of spending all of that money on like a 2x8 to put against those 2x4s and turning them sideways that are gonna run this way versus the 2x4 that's sitting this way to build out a box, what we're actually going to do is use 1.5 inch or 2-inch Ridgid foam. So because this isn't structural, we're going to just go ahead and build out a stud here, but go ahead and just use foam instead. We'll screw through the 2x going this way, and hopefully a coarse enough screw that can hold that foam stud in place. And then we can go ahead and spray foam in here. But before we spray foam in here, we need a backer. So of course we're gonna use the same Ridgid foam, cut it out so it fits in between these 2x here. And then we'll take some like OSB or something and strapping and put it along here like every 16 inches or so. That way when they spray foam from this side, you're not blowing out that pink or EPS foam, you're not blowing it out this way. The bracing, whatever it's made of, will go from here to here. We'll strap that. We'll put in pink foam board from this way, or EPS from this way. We'll take that same foam and build out a stud going that way. And then of course they can spray foam right to the back of that foam board along the foam studs. And then we can go ahead and cut those studs out of foam however long I need. So let's say we need 9 inches. Just rip cut one of those down 9 inches, screw it to that, put in the foam board, spray it all so it glues together. So that way you're basically gluing the, or not gluing, but you're spray foam gluing the in between the studs to the stud to the stud of foam that's running out this way, and we can just go ahead and just spray the crap out of that and get it where we need to. So again, thank you, Mr. Cool, for that idea. It's better to go ahead and use the foam board as a stud as opposed to an actual wood stud, because then of course you're losing all of your heat through that thermal bridging. And we all know that wood has only got an R value of about 1 per inch. So at 9 inches, we'd only have an R9 there. And our goal in the roof is essentially to get to like an R60. So that is greatly going to help, because if we do use the pink Owens Corning foam again, that has a R5 per inch. So that's really going to help build that out and not have that thermal bridging effect going on. If you can see, that's what I'm talking about, the beauty of having such a rough wood grain. You can pretty much just smear it all over and get it into the cracks. And then when you go ahead and paint this stuff, you can't see the smudge marks. So it all blends in just perfectly. So that's a good thing about the cedar finish as opposed to the smooth finish. Hey everybody, welcome back. So I didn't get a lot done today. I tried caulking the outside fascia board that I put up with the LP Smartside after I put those metal channels on. And unfortunately, it was kind of under 40 degrees when I started today, and that stuff's supposed to be put on when it's above 40. And my hands were freezing every time you'd put it on the nail and kind of rub it in. My hands were just too cold. So I basically got to the front of the house and started doing all of the under laminate or the ice and water shield so that we can be fully waterproofed in. I got 4 layers up back there. And the reason why I didn't get that much done today is because I tried to drive the lift into the backyard and start working on the back of the house, because that's already got 2 layers on it. And unfortunately, I got stuck again. So had to call the rental place. They had to bring an excavator out. They had to pull me back out, and it's just a nightmare. That backyard, I don't think it's gonna get touched anytime soon. So I have no idea how we're gonna sheet and paper the back of the house. But unfortunately, again, we've gotta wait till either the temperature gets up, or hopefully we get it done all tomorrow, or as much as we can to waterproof in, because it's supposed to rain Saturday and Sunday. 1 or 2 days isn't gonna hurt it, but I really gotta get this thing buttoned up. I'm getting back into, this sucks so much that you need it done, and there's just always something in the way, whether it be lifts getting stuck, the weather not cooperating, too hot, too cold, it's a swamp out there, or you're slipping on ice. I don't know, you name it. But wish me luck for tomorrow. Again, we'll get back at it, and then I'll see you guys then. Real quick, I just wanted to show you this. I've ran out of electric cords, so unfortunately I can't hook up that 4th light. But as you can see now in here, we've got 3 of the Hyperlight 150 watts installed. And I also got the globes. Now the globes, there were 2 different kinds. There was clear and milky. I decided to go with the milky because obviously the milky is going to cut down on how intense the light is hitting you. but that's also going to cut down on the light output or the lumens. So 4 in here, I think definitely will still work, but these definitely got dimmer from the milky translucent cover that it has to go through. But one cool side effect is the fact that it is throwing the light everywhere now. So instead of just throwing it straight down, I mean, even if you stand over here, you can see that the ceiling is fully lit up. So it's throwing the light up and it's throwing it out. So while you may lose the power, you're getting it everywhere now. So it's not bad. So now, like up in the upper corners over here, you can totally see. In fact, in all the corners, I did go ahead and move the lights just ever so slightly out further lengthwise. So they're more towards the wall than anything. But I think that's going to help in once we put the drywall on, and if I paint the garage wall white, if you get the light a little bit closer to that wall, the light can then bounce off and come back. I still have the 5th light too that I said I was going to return to Amazon and get my $15 back. I could either send it back or put one in the middle, but I think 4 is the way to go. So I probably will box that up and send it back. The only thing that stinks about these is these lights are either $79 or $89 and the globes were like $65. That's insane that an absolute cheap piece of plastic is almost the same price as something with, you know, a million LEDs and power and something that a machine I don't think can just put together. There's a lot of intricate detail. There's a lot of screws that are getting bolted on there. In fact, I'm looking at like 10 right now that take a lot more work than just sending a piece of plastic through a mold and then you're done. But anyway, again, I think one more definitely will do it. If I had another extension cord or if my plug up there, it only has 3 spots. If it had one more, we could see what all 4 look like, but these are nice. These are definitely the way to go. Just depends, again, how high you are and how much light output you actually need. So we already got one window installed. First thing we did, we set up the laser level so that way we can see all the way around. I'm not adjusting it to anything specific. If you look right here, you probably can't see it, but this edge right here, it's maybe 1/4 of an inch above on top of this that it's casting a line. So that's what I'll just go with, basically 1/4 of an inch above there for all of them. That way they're all completely set. First one went okay. I've got my tractor out here with the forklifts and a pallet so that I've got something to stand on. But basically we went ahead and used the DAP, what is it? Dynaflex Ultra window siding and door sealant. It is actually what's approved for the LP Smart Siding. So every place where we have like that 3/6 inch gap, that's what we need to put in there also. So it's approved for that, but it's also perfect for windows and doors. And we got black so that when it squirts out, it matches everything. So if you're not familiar with installing windows, what we did was we put that sealant just on 3 sides. So up, over, and then back down. You put nothing on the bottom. That way if the window ever fails and starts to leak one day, it can leak out of the bottom. Now what I don't have is the bottom nailed in yet because I need some sort of washer or spacer to kick that out a little bit. So that way, again, water runs down on there. If it ever does, it can kick out and drain out the bottom. So you don't want to nail that completely flush and you don't want to put sealant on the bottom. But my little washer thingies haven't shown up yet, so I may have to go to the store and just pick something up and say, screw it, go with whatever the store has. But so I won't nail the bottom in. Now, because we're going through 7/16 OSB and a little over 1 inch of foam, before we hit the stud, we went ahead and got 3-inch nails. These are roofing nails, so they are galvanized, but roofing nails are completely flat and they have a massive head on them. So that's what we're using to install these. Once we get that completely nailed up and the sealant dries and I went ahead and wiped the excess off of the metal trim, we're going to go ahead and again on all 3 sides, so up, over, and back down, not on the bottom, we're going to use the zip flashing tape to completely seal that thing in. and then that'll be done. So it doesn't take that long. It's pretty easy. Luckily, this has a steel or aluminum frame, very rigid. So they don't have, on some windows, they look like they have holes like every inch or two. These have holes every 6 to 7 inches. So go ahead and use every single hole with every single nail and really lock that thing down. So I'm gonna move the tractor, get it over here, do another one for you real quick. I just wanted to see how this one would go. And then we'll go from there, and we'll be back when we figure out a washer situation. So stay tuned.